Good morning. Welcome back to Planet Doug Behind the Scenes for Thursday, November 23rd. Yeah, I have a few things on my mind this morning, but I think I'll start with the events of yesterday. It was a bit of a special day because my friend Daryl from Kuala Lumpur came down to Port Dickson for another visit. He runs, of course, the Wander Eats YouTube channel. And he was in the mood for a road trip, I guess. He wanted to hop on his car, go for a ride, and he has his brand new DJI Pocket 3 camera. And over the last couple of weeks, I went to a couple of museums here in Port Dickson. One of them was the Army Museum, and when I was there, I brought my Olympus camera with me, and that led to me kind of filming or trying to film in different ways. You know, when I normally would bring just my GoPro, and then because of the way the GoPro works, the kind of camera it is, the wide field of view, you don't really feel the urge to do anything fancy or special with it. You know, you can't really zoom in. So, you know, you basically just hold the GoPro, point it there, point it here, point it there. You don't do anything unusual. But since I brought my Olympus, I started doing more things, you know, zooming in onto small details, panning. It's kind of the way you hold the camera, the fact that you have a viewfinder, you know, you can look through the viewfinder. You get a little bit fancier. So I had that on my mind recently. And then there's a YouTuber called It's Sky. He's an American based in Amsterdam now. And he started doing a daily vlog. And a lot of his topics for his daily vlog are vlogging. So it is a vlog about the techniques of vlogging. He does, you know, lifestyle stuff as well, but lately he's been focusing a lot on filming techniques. He has a job in the film industry, so he is a professional that works in TV and movies and commercials. So yeah, he knows a lot about this stuff. And in one of his recent videos, he was talking about the technique that filmmakers use of getting coverage. So, like, basically B-roll. And he's talking about how, well, you've got like principal photography where you film the story. You know, one film crew is filming the actors acting, but in the downtime, they're running around and another camera crew is running around getting coverage. And It's Sky refers to it as getting coverage and working the scene. So basically you're just getting close-ups, you're getting panning shots, you're getting establishing shots, getting all these different angles and perspectives, trying to capture everything on film, you know, while you have the set, and then you can pass all those clips on to the editor. And then the editor has, you know, a big treasure trove of clips to work with. He's got the principal photography of the actors speaking their lines, basically, and then he has all the coverage and the establishing shots and all the close-ups, and he can dip into that big treasure trove of coverage, of B-roll, and then use it, you know, to make his movie. So It's Sky, you know, produced a vlog talking about this concept. And this was right after I went to the Army Museum, and I kind of played around a little bit with getting coverage. I shot, you know, my experience at the museum, but then once I would, you know, go through a gallery and look at it and read everything and have the museum experience, then I would switch to a different mode, put on a different hat, as it were, and now I would go through the same gallery, but as if I'm shooting B-roll, as if I'm shooting coverage, getting establishing shots, getting close-ups, panning shots. So I was doing that a little bit, and then after that day, I thought a lot more about it, and I realized all the things I didn't do because I had, you know, my Insta360 camera with me. I could have used time warp on my GoPro, which I totally forgot about. I could have done all kinds of more interesting establishing shots and panning shots and close-up shots, all these sorts of things. I could have gotten a lot more types of coverage than I did, And I talked about that at length in a behind-the-scenes video, and I was talking to Daryl about it. We chat back and forth all the time. So I think all of that made Daryl think, well, he has his new Pocket 3 camera, why not hop in the car, ride down to Port Dickson, hang out with me. We'll go to the Army Museum. He can shoot a video at the Army Museum using the Pocket 3 camera, which has a 1-inch sensor in it, so it's very good in low light, better than a GoPro. So he wanted to basically try out his Pocket 3, and then perhaps while he's at the museum, try shooting the same sort of style, like getting coverage, getting establishing shots, getting all these things. And then he's going to put together his video about the Army Museum. So that's what happened yesterday. Daryl came down. He showed up here maybe 9:30 in the morning, something like that. And we first went to his favorite restaurant. He's been to Port Dickson a few times on his own, way before he knew me, coming down with his family for, normal weekend visits. People from Kuala Lumpur, they come down here on the weekend because it's on the ocean, get out of the big city and just relax here. And I don't know if I've even seen this video. I haven't watched it yet. I've probably watched it before, but I can't remember it. But Daryl shot a video here in which he went to maybe 5, like the 5 best restaurants of Port Dickson. And one of them is his favorite one, is called Kampung Kaw, K-A-W, Cafe Kampung Kaw, or Cow. It is like a nasi lemak specialty restaurant. And then when Daryl picked me up here, the first place we went was there to get breakfast. And that was really nice. It was really a nice place. I was impressed. They have like a large outdoor seating area, and very nicely shaded, very open and airy, so you get a nice breeze going through, a lot of space between the tables. I found the setting really nice. The service was great. They have a system where you get a pad and a pencil and the menus, and you can go to your table, look over the menu and write down your order on the pad and then hand it in. Me, I prefer that style as opposed to having a server come to your table and stand there to take your order. That always feels like a lot of pressure to me, the timing of it. It just adds, for me, it adds stress to the meal. So I prefer the laid back approach of filling out your own order pad and then handing it in. And the food was really good. We got a nasi lemak breakfast with some potato cakes, a couple of drinks. That was really good. And then, this was really amazing. The manager of the restaurant came up to our table because she recognized Daryl from Wander Eats. They saw his video about their restaurant, and then she came up to our table, because I was having breakfast with a celebrity, the famous YouTuber Wander Eats. So the manager came up to the table and said, "Oh, hello, thank you so much for profiling our restaurant in your video." And I guess they left a comment on his video, and they talked back and forth. And when Daryl showed up again with me, they recognized him. He was a local celebrity now. So they came up to his table, our table, talked to him, thanked him for the video, that sort of thing. So that was really kind of cool. A small amount of celebrity, when you are a YouTuber. At least your face is out there on the internet, and occasionally people do recognize you from your videos. So that was a lot of fun when it happened. From there, we went to the Army Museum, and I had my cameras with me. I mean, not all my cameras. I just had a GoPro and a 360 camera, but I wasn't fully geared up to shoot a video because, I don't know, I just wasn't in the mood. I decided to take the day easy, just relax. So even meeting up with Daryl, going to the Kampung Kaw cafe, I didn't film any of that. I didn't film anything when we went to the Army Museum. I just left it all up to Daryl to do his thing. So when we got there, Daryl took out his Pocket 3 camera, and then we just went through the museum. They have this great system at the museum that I talked about in my video of these yellow footprints and arrows that lead you through the 2 buildings and the 9 exhibits of the museum. And you don't have to think about which room to go to next. You just, follow the yellow brick road, as it were. You follow the yellow brick footprints, and they just guide you from gallery to gallery up the stairs. And you see all the exhibits in order, basically placed in order of the history of Malaysia, starting in the, long ago past Malacca, then going on to the British colonial era, pre-independence, post-independence, and you basically trace the history of Malaysia going from gallery to gallery, and each gallery tells that part of Malaysia's history, but with a focus on the role of the military at that time, whatever form the military took at that time, and then leading all up until the day when Malaysia became an independent country, and now they have their own official military of Malaysia. So I find the museum quite an interesting place. It's very big, very spacious, lots of outdoor exhibits of helicopters and jets and armored cars, and that's basically why I was thinking so much about camera techniques and getting coverage, because you could do things like run around a helicopter or raise a camera up above a jet and get a top-down shot. You can do all these things because they have big outdoor displays and displays inside the exhibits. So there's a lot of different settings. And then there's something there that they also have a tunnel, quite a large underground tunnel, which is a recreation of the tunnels that the communists use during the fighting that they call the emergency here in Malaysia. There was a very long military struggle between the military and the communist insurgency, and they recreated an underground tunnel that the communists used as bases for their fighting. So that's very interesting too. And they also have a thing called the survival village. You go down into the tunnel, and then the tunnel kind of pops up near the survival village, and it's an area, like a park-like area with fish ponds, canopy walkways, and I guess you're sort of in the jungle now. You're in sort of a park setting. And so you put all that together, the variety of settings, the variety of lighting conditions. It's kind of a good place to practice with your camera, to take your new DJI Pocket 3 camera, as Daryl did, and just put it through its paces and play with it and try out different things. And that's what we did there for 2 or 3 hours or however long we were there. And then from there, we went to Starbucks, of course. I'm a big fan of the Starbucks hot latte, so I got myself a latte. And then, even before then, Daryl and I were talking a lot about cameras, because we always have a lot to say about that. And then we settled in at Starbucks with our drinks and continued just talking about camera gear. Originally, when Daryl was going to come down for this, I was assuming we're going to talk a lot about the Pocket 3, because I thought I would love to get my hands on it and try it out and play around with it. And that was his new camera. That's the new kid on the block. But in terms of our conversation, it got a little bit upstaged, because yesterday, or the night before, like 9:30 at night, Insta360 officially announced their new camera. And Insta360 finally decided to release their own action camera. Because, of course, they're known for 360 cameras. It's in the name, Insta360. And I used to have an Insta360 X2, and I recently traded that in, and I upgraded to the Insta360 X3. But those are very much specialty cameras designed for shooting 360 video. They aren't action cameras. And Insta360 also has something called the One RS. And it's a little bit like an action camera. The form factor looks similar, the same basic, rectangular shape, but it's quite different from a GoPro or an Action because it is modular. So it has a battery base, and then it has a module, and then a lens, and you click all these three pieces together, and that forms the rectangular shape. And the lens portion, you can swap it out. So you could buy a 360 lens, and then the One RS is a 360 camera, or you can buy a normal wide angle lens, and then it essentially functions like an Action camera. But it's not really like a GoPro or an Action because it's not waterproof, and because it's made up of all these components that you click together. It's not waterproof, and it's not as rugged. GoPro, of course, an Action, you can drop it from quite a height. You can bang it around, and it's not going to hurt it if you're lucky. If it doesn't land right on the lens or something, it's going to survive a lot of hard usage. But the Insta360 One RS, being modular with all these pieces, clipping together, it's a little bit more fragile. If you drop it, it probably would just like break apart into all its pieces. I don't know. But anyway, it's not a true action camera, even though it looks like one. So Insta360 sat down with their design teams or engineering teams, whatever they have, and they came out with what they call the Insta360 Ace and the Insta360 Ace Pro. And it was released, officially launched like 2 nights ago, not last night, but the night before Daryl came down to Port Dixon. So of course, as soon as it was announced online, I was on the internet waiting. They even had, they have a countdown, how many hours until the official launch. And I was sitting here, with my laptop and checking, it's 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour, 1 minute, and then counting down to official launch. And then Insta360 plays their launch video, which for my money was very underwhelming. Like, I didn't know much about this camera. I was excited to see what they were going to come up with. But their launch video really kind of left me feeling a bit flat. It was like, that's it? Like, that's how you're releasing this camera? I don't know, it just didn't really do anything for me. But then right after that, of course, the embargo was lifted, and then all the big camera review channels, all the big camera YouTubers, they were allowed to post their initial reviews of the camera. And a lot of these, I watched a ton of them. At that night, I watched more the next morning, and last night I watched a bunch more. So I know a lot more about the camera, and I have certain opinions about it. But we don't really know yet. We don't know enough to form a real opinion about this camera, because all these initial reviews, or maybe 95% of them, who knows, they're all sponsored. So all the people who had reviews like in the online ready to go, the only reason they could do that is because Insta360 sent them one of the cameras a month ago or 2 weeks ago for free, so that they could test it out, and then they would have a review ready to go on launch date. So all of these videos, for the most part, are sponsored videos. And a lot of these people will say that, well, it doesn't matter that it's sponsored. This is still my honest opinion. They say that, yes, they sent me the camera for free, but they have no say in my video. They're not going to approve it. They don't see it before I post it. So this is my true and honest opinion. But, they got the camera for free. They want to be nice to the company. I think that kind of bias is impossible to keep out. And it's brand new. And from that point of view, a lot of excitement creeps into their videos where they focus on the new features. Like, whoa, look at this. It can do this, and it can do this. So I think you do get an overly optimistic perspective on the camera in the early reviews. And now you have to wait for a couple of weeks for real people, consumers, to buy the camera and start using it and then testing it in real world conditions. And then all the little issues will start to come out. All the problems that are there will start to be revealed. So you need a good month for the dust to settle to really know, is this camera a competitor for GoPro, a competitor for the Action 4, a competitor for the Pocket 3. We don't really know yet, but as I said, I watched a lot of these videos. Daryl watched a lot of them. So when we sat down at Starbucks, we were, just talking about this camera and a whole bunch of other topics. I'm going to talk about the camera in detail, like my thoughts about it, its overall design and its features in a minute. But before I do that, I mean, one way to think about it in terms of my reaction to the camera is the question, would I buy it? And the answer right now is no. Like if I had $500 or $400, I think is the GoPro or the Action 4, they're about $400 US. The Ace Pro from Insta360, which is the premium model, the Ace, nobody talked about the Ace. The Ace was their cheaper, less professional model. Nobody talked about that, so I won't even refer to it. I'm only going to talk about the Ace Pro. That one is $450. So it's actually $50 more expensive than the Hero 12 or the Action 4. But if I had $400 or $500 to spend and I wanted to upgrade from my trusty Hero 9 and I was going to go out and buy a new camera, would I buy the new Insta360 Ace Pro? No, I would not. I would buy either the Action 4 or the Hero 12. And to be honest, despite all of the features that the Action 4 brings to the table, I'm still not sold on it. When it comes right down to like side-by-side video comparisons, a lot of people do this. David Manning, he posted a video very quickly that showed side-by-side video comparisons, and it was like a blind comparison. I always like it when they do that. It's a lot of fun if a reviewer puts, video from all three cameras side by side on the screen. They mount them on a board so they're all filming at the same time, and then he posts the video. You can look from one to the other, and you're supposed to decide, blindly. You don't know which video comes from which camera, which do you like the best. And to me, it's always a little bit of a anticlimactic moment, because within a tenth of a second of this comparison video starting, I'm like, oh, there's the GoPro. It's like I just see it instantly. It's like there's the Action 4, here's the Ace Pro, here's the GoPro. I scan from side to side. Which one do I like best? I like that one the best. That's the GoPro. Every single time, I get my personal taste goes towards the way GoPro handles the video, whether it's color, science, the sharpness of it, the saturation of the colors, whatever it is, I can always tell, put them side by side in all these comparison videos. There's the GoPro. I know that's the GoPro, and I know it is because that's the one I like the best. I've never been wrong yet. So, yeah, and then some of the features in like the Action 4 and now the new Ace Pro that everybody raves about in particular, and they're like beating GoPro over the head with it. My view is the exact opposite. And this really makes me laugh because both the Action 4 and now the Ace Pro, they both have a new mounting system. They have a magnetic mounting system. It's a combination of a magnetic and clips. So it's supposed to be a quick release magnetic system. And every time they do a comparison between the Action and the GoPro, everybody loves the magnetic system. They go, click, look how fast it is. I click it in, I click it off, click, look how fast it is. And then they go to the GoPro and they just beat GoPro over the head because they have their GoPro set up with a thumb screw. And they say, well, on the GoPro, to remove it, you have to unscrew the thumb screw, and look how long this takes. So unscrewing, and now you pull it out, and you got to move it, and then you got to put it back in place. screw in the thumb screw. They make a huge meal out of this demonstration, how long it takes to unscrew the thumb screw, move the GoPro and put the thumb screw back in, and then they go back to the action 4. Look, magnetic quick release, click, 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 so fast, so easy. GoPro, thumb screw. And this has been driving me crazy for months because they're all ignoring the fact that GoPro has its own quick release mechanism. So they're comparing quick release on one camera to the non-quick release on the other. And they all ignore the fact that GoPro has its own quick release. So David Manning, when he did his comparison video, he did the same thing. You know, he's just like, oh man, this GoPro, the thumb screw, the this, the this. And when I was with Daryl at Starbucks, you know, he's there, you know, he's my audience. I can't yell at David Manning, but you know, Daryl is right there, and I'm like, look, 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 look. So I take out my GoPro. So here's the GoPro on a, you know, on a quick release buckle, and I say, you know, if I were there in the studio with David Manning, I wish I could get in front of him and say, yeah, the GoPro takes so long to put in place. Yeah, that was so hard. Oh, look how long that took. Now I have to remove the GoPro. Oh, how hard, how long did that take? Oh, let's do it again. Oh, you know, it's a quick release system, and it works across all of the GoPro accessories. So, you know, I've got my GoPro here on my jaws. I want to move it to my 3-way, you know, it pops off. Here's my 3-way grip. It lines up there, clicks into place. I'm done. So don't give me this nonsense about, oh, the GoPro, you've got to undo the thumb screw. The thumb screw is so slow. This has been driving me nuts for so long. You know, anybody want to see it again? I just removed it. I want to put it back in place. It's there. And there are advantages to this system that make it better than the magnetic system. One being that with the magnetic system, it only goes on in one direction because of the way the magnets and the clips work. And I see it all the time when these people demonstrate the magnetic system. They often get it wrong the first time because they don't know which way the camera goes on. So they try to take their magnets and their clips and they go, oh, no, that's not the right way. And then they have to turn the camera around. Oh, that's the way it clicks in. And quite often there's 2 little clips. They'll often get one clip in, but the other one doesn't get in. The first one locks into place, but now the camera is kind of on an angle, and it's really hard to get the second one in. So they struggle with it. They try to put it on the wrong way first. Oh, that's the wrong way. It has to go this way. And then it clips on one side, but not the other side. And then sometimes to release it, once you have, like on a chest harness or on your helmet or whatever, it's hard to get your fingers in there to press the little levers to undo the clips. But nobody ever talks about that. All they do is talk about thumb screws on the GoPro. And with the GoPro, you know, I've got, well, stick with this one, my 3-way grip, which I love, has a built-in quick release system with a tripod. You know, it moves at the top. It's got a tripod head on it. And then you can put the GoPro on this way, comes off, and you can put it on the other way. So if this was mounted on my scooter, for example, quick release, I can put it on this way so that it's facing me, but now I want the GoPro to be facing in the other direction because I'm riding my scooter. The camera can be turned around. And now, using the same quick release, it's facing forward. You can't do that with the magnetic system because it can only face in one direction. You can't just pick up the camera, turn it around, lock it back into place, face in the other direction. It doesn't work. So far I've demonstrated the jaws, you know, which I like, the 3-way, which I like. The quick release is built into the 3-way, pops right off. Here's my jaws. You know, I'm going to go walking around, clips into place. I love that. Now I'm getting back on my bicycle, and the bicycle handlebar mount, I don't have it on my bike right now, but there's the handlebar mount. It also has the quick release built into it. Clicks into place. So David Manning, every other YouTuber out there that is constantly doing these ridiculous demonstrations of how long it takes to unscrew the GoPro thumb screw. Well, that's on you. You've chosen to mount the camera with the thumb screw, but you don't need to. The whole thing about the GoPro is it has this quick release system. There we go. One more time. Oh, that takes so long. Oh, look how long this takes. And this system, for my money, is more stable. It's much more stable. It's much more reliable. And every one of these camera reviews, they all say the same thing. They turn to the camera and they plead with GoPro to come on, get with the times, get rid of your thumb screws, and you have to adopt the magnetic system. And I'm hoping that GoPro ignores them. You know, the new Hero 13, when it comes out next year, I don't want to see any kind of a magnetic mounting system on it, because the GoPro system, for my money, is so much better. It's more useful. And when you use it, the way it's designed, it is actually with a much lower profile. So if you look at all those comparisons, they'll have all three cameras lined up. The GoPro, you know, they're using the thumb screws, but the GoPro is nice and low. And when you switch over to the quick release system, it's just as low. It has a very low profile. But the way the magnetic systems work on the Action and the Insta360, it still has a thumbnail. Thumbnail? Have I been saying thumbnail all this time? I'm getting very animated here. Thumb screw. It still has a thumb screw. Even though they have the magnetic quick release, the way it's designed, the magnetic quick release must sit on top of a thumb screw. So you have no choice in the matter. You have to use both at the same time. The magnetic quick release system sits on top of the thumb screw. That's the only way it works. So with those, you can never use just the thumb screw. You have to use the magnetic quick release all the time, and its foundation is the thumb screw. So in the end, this magnetic system forces you to use both at the same time all the time. You don't have a choice. And with one sitting on top of the other, the camera is raised much higher in the air, which makes it quite a bit more awkward. This is probably a bit hard to understand. You have to use these systems to really understand what I'm talking about. But I prefer the GoPro approach. Like when you use the quick release buckle, it sits on the bottom, and then on top of it is the thumb screw, right? So it's reversed. The magnetic system, the quick release, is on top of the thumb screw, but on GoPro, if you use the quick release, it's flipped. The thumb screw is on top. So what that means is you can use the quick release buckle system, but if you don't want to use that and you only want to use the thumb screw, you don't also have to use the quick release. You see what I mean? They're two separate systems because of that. But the way the magnetic systems are designed, you have to use both all the time. You can never use only the thumb screw. You always have to use the magnetic quick release, which sits on top of the thumb screw. Anyway, rant over. David Manning, click, click. On a couple of these videos online, I've actually left comments in the past where if I'm feeling particularly animated that day, I write a comment on their video pointing out when they're comparing the Action to the GoPro, they're ignoring the GoPro quick release system. And I'll talk about all the things that they are ignoring. And I've left comments like this on a few videos. And I think I left one on the channel Gemini Connect. I really like the channel. They do a great job with reviewing gear. They do a lot of GoPro stuff, GoPro accessories. And then I'm pretty sure I left a comment on one of Gemini Connect's videos talking about the GoPro quick release system and how comparing the magnetic quick release to the GoPro thumb screw, It's a classic case of comparing apples to oranges. They're not the same thing. If you want to do a comparison from the Action's quick release system, well, logically, you should compare it to the GoPro's quick release system. And yet nobody ever mentions it. And I give them a hard time about that. And in her latest video, where Gemini Connect was talking about the magnetic quick release system for the Ace Pro, she stopped sort of in the middle of her, she was going on and on about how the magnetic system is so much better than the GoPro. And then she stopped and says, well, I know the GoPro has this quick release buckle system, but I don't like it. And then she just left it there. And I like to think that her even mentioning that GoPro even has a quick release system is the only reason she even mentioned it is because I've been throwing out comments on her channel about it. So I think she was speaking directly to me. She's like saying, all right, we get it. GoPro has a quick release system, but I'm not going to include it in my comparison because I don't like it. And yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. I got one YouTuber to actually mention it in passing, but nobody else even brings it up. Like they pretend it doesn't even exist. So imagine you are poor Daryl at Starbucks, and I'm sitting across from you with my latte, and I just bombard you with this tirade. And Daryl's like, oh, there goes Doug again, talking about the GoPro buckle mount system. I'm on a crusade, basically. So let's get back to the new camera from Insta360. And as I said, my thumbnail or my short response to this camera, would I buy it? No. If I had $400 to $500 to spend right now, I had the money in my hand and I went out to a camera store, I'd scan the shelves, and to be honest, I would walk out with a Hero 12. That would be my choice again. Yeah, it just would be. It's the camera I like the best between them, so that's my gut reaction. If I had more money, getting up to Pocket 3 level money, 1-inch sensor cameras, I had $800 to spend, I would still probably buy the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. That, to me, everybody's excited about the Pocket 3. That is the new kid on the block that everybody loves and everybody's raving about. And I get it. I get all the advantages of it. I can see what everyone's talking about. And yet, whenever I hold it in my hand, well, I used to hold the Pocket 2 in my hand because I had it. And I just stopped using it because I disliked the form factor and I disliked the gimbal controls, like having to control a gimbal to aim the camera lens. I just didn't like it. It added one more layer of complexity to my life that I didn't need. And then yesterday when Daryl showed up, we went to this Kampong Ka cafe for our nasi lemak breakfast. And he knew I was so eager to see the Pocket 3 because I'd never seen one in real life. And he took his out and I got to take a close look at it. And my first reaction was, wow, is it big? So much bigger than the Pocket 2. I knew that because in all the reviews, everybody was saying that. It says, yeah, it's a 1-inch sensor, so it needs a bigger gimbal, it needs a bigger lens, it needs a bigger this. Everything has to be scaled up to handle the 1-inch sensor and then the design changes that they made. So I knew it was bigger. People in videos did side by side. Here's the Pocket 2, here's the Pocket 3. You can see it's bigger. But when Daryl handed me his Pocket 3, I just kind of went, whoa, that is a chunky monkey. It was much bigger, much heavier than I expected. I was really surprised because the Pocket 2 really was a very pencil-thin kind of device. And that was one of its main selling features, how small and light it was, and it has a built-in gimbal. And now with the Pocket 3, they have the 1-inch sensor, which increases image quality tremendously and low light capability. But the cost was very apparent when I first picked it up. It was like, man, that is so much bigger. It looked almost cartoonishly big at first to me. I thought, wow. It looked like, yeah, somebody put it on steroids and it just sort of like bulked up, so big. But I think in the end it wouldn't matter, because even over our breakfast, over time, and then at Starbucks, I got to hold the Pocket 3 again, and I was already accustomed to it. Like, it struck me as really big when I first held it, but after a couple hours, I was already, it just became normal again. Okay, this is how big the camera is, and I just accepted it. And you could start to feel that even the bigger size was more comfortable in your hand. It actually you could make an argument that, sure, it's bigger than the Pocket 2, but rather than being a disadvantage, it actually makes it better. It is heavier, but it's still not heavy. And it feels better in your hand because it is bigger and easier to hold on to and get at the controls and things like that. But almost right away, as soon as I took Daryl's Pocket 3 and I was sort of playing around with it and watching Daryl use the camera throughout the day, I remembered all the ergonomic handling reasons why I did not like the Pocket 2. And I could see that all of my feelings about the Pocket 2 would carry over to the Pocket 3. So if I was in the $800 range for a 1-inch sensor camera, I would lean towards a traditional camera, a camera body like a Sony ZV-1 Mark II. It's got a lot of problems. It's not even close to being a perfect vlogging camera. It's not even a good vlogging camera, but it's probably the best there is available right now. So yeah, $500, $400 to spend, I would get the Hero 12. You know, sub $1,000 to spend, I'd probably get the Sony ZV-1 Mark II. But anyway, yeah, back to the Ace Pro. It was kind of interesting seeing all the reactions to it, because I think the Ace Pro had a difficult road ahead of it, because this year has been flooded with cameras that people got excited about. When the Action 4 came out, it was like it hit the market like a bomb. Everybody loved the Action 4. Everybody was super excited about it. People rushed out to buy it, trading in their Action 3s, upgrading to the Action 4. Made a big splash in the vlogging action camera world. And then the GoPro Hero 12 came out this year as well, and the Hero 12 kind of landed with a bit of a thud. You know, there wasn't the same excitement around the Hero 12 release, but, you know, GoPro diehards like me were glad to see it, and there was some excitement around that camera. And then the Pocket 3 was released, and the camera world went nuts. Everybody lost their mind about the Pocket 3. So I think people in the camera world like me, we're kind of worn out. 2023 has been a big year for the small cameras and for other cameras. Man, if you want to talk about, you know, Micro Four Thirds and APS-C and full frame cameras, some big news in those markets too. So everybody has sort of been super amped up about cameras this year. So now with the Insta360 Ace Pro coming out, for people to get excited about this camera, they would have to introduce something amazing, like something extraordinary. Because I think to get people excited again, we were excited about the Action, kind of excited about the GoPro, super excited about the Pocket 3. I think people are exhausted. People are just tired. They don't have enough energy to get excited again. So for Ace Pro to create that kind of excitement in the market, they would have to come out with something mind-blowing. And they didn't really do that. A lot of interesting things about the camera, but they didn't really hit the market like a bomb like the other cameras did. But big differences off the top of my head. I think the first thing you notice is the screen is a flip-up screen. So something like a GoPro has a fixed screen on the back and a screen on the front, and you can see your video on the back on the GoPro. You can see your video, you can see what you're filming, you can play back your video on the back, and you can adjust menu settings on the back. The front screen, you can see settings, very simple settings, but you can't change anything. You don't have access to the menu, and there's no video playback. You can see the video that you're recording. So if I'm shooting video with the GoPro, I can hold it this way. I can see the screen on the back. I can see what I'm filming, but if I turn the GoPro around, I can still see what I'm filming, but on the front screen, which is a really, really good feature. The Action 4 trumped that. It also has a rear screen and a front screen, does all the things the GoPro can do, but the front screen on the Action is a touch screen and has a menu system, so you can actually adjust all of your settings on the front of the camera. So that was a lot better. But that's basically how the GoPros and the Actions work. Screen on the front, I just turned on my GoPro, I can see myself, I know what I'm filming, you know, I can frame myself properly. I can tell it's recording, I can see the battery life, I can see how much memory is left, I can see the date and the time, the mode I'm in, I can see that I'm shooting in 4K, 50 frames per second, wide angle, and then if I turn the GoPro around, I can see all that same information on the back. So that works well. But the Ace Pro from Insta360 took a different approach, and they took the rear screen and they put it on a hinge that flips up to the top. So now if you're looking this way, you don't have a front screen like the GoPro. You actually take the rear screen and flip it up, and now you can see a big screen, and it has all the touch menu settings. So people reviewing the camera, they love that. They think, wow, what a great new design. Everybody talks about it as a big advantage of the Ace Pro. And I could see the excitement around that. I could see why people liked it. To be honest, when it comes to a flippy screen, I've never liked the ones that flip to the side. I guess they call that a flip out screen. I've never liked the flip out screens. I find them awkward. I prefer the screens that flip up, generally. So you'd think I'd be excited about the flip up screen on the Ace Pro, but overall, I don't really like it. And it took me a while to figure out why I didn't like it. And I realized that it's because of my filming style. As I said, with the GoPro, it makes no difference how I'm holding the camera. Facing me, I see the front screen. Facing away from me, I see the rear screen. So it makes no difference how I'm holding the camera. I don't have to do anything. But now think about this flip up screen, because this front screen doesn't show you anything. You don't see any video on the front screen. It just is like a LCD screen that shows some technical, like battery life and stuff like that. That's all you see. So now you're filming yourself, so you raise up the back screen. Now I can see the framing in the LCD screen because I flipped it up, da-da-da-da-da. But now turn the camera around because I want to film ahead of me. Now I can't see anything because the screen has been flipped up. There's only one screen, and you have to choose whether it's facing forward or facing backwards. So now, because of this flip up screen, if I'm using an Ace Pro, or if the GoPro had a flip up screen, I go like this, I'm like, oh, I can't see anything. Now I have to take the screen, flip it up. Okay, now I can see, I can shoot my video. I turn it around. Oh, I gotta flip down the screen. And I go like this. Oh, I gotta flip up the screen. I go like, oh, I gotta, every time you move the camera from facing you to facing away, you have to move the screen if you want to see the screen. And as soon as I realized that, I kind of did a thought experiment. I was trying to figure out why I didn't like this. And then I thought, okay, yeah, what does it mean in actuality? And I realized, oh yeah, if I do this and the screen is up, okay, that's fine. And now I've turned the GoPro around. Oh, I can't see it anymore. Now I have to physically rotate it back into position. And then when I do this, oh, I can't see the screen. Now I have to rotate it up. So all day long, I would have to constantly move the screen up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, because the front screen isn't active anymore. So that's the key. If the Ace Pro had both, then it would be the best of both worlds. That I would like. Flip up screen and a front screen. If it had both of them, that would solve all my problems, and I wouldn't have an issue with it. And the other thing I realized, let's say I was riding my bicycle or riding a scooter, and I had the GoPro, the GoPro facing me because I want to talk a little bit on camera, and I have the screen flipped up. And what I normally do with my GoPro is I have both screens on a timer, because this saves battery life, and just for convenience, I don't need this front screen on all the time. I only need it on for like 10 seconds because I just need to confirm that it's recording and that I'm in frame. So I have it on a timer, probably 30 seconds I think is the minimum. So I hit record, I can see myself on the screen, okay, good, everything's okay. And then after 30 seconds, the front screen turns off, goes dark, because I don't need it. Everything's set up properly. I don't need to see myself on the screen. I'm good. But with the Insta360, in order to do that, I have to flip up the back screen. So now it's sitting above the camera. And then I can also set it on a timer to turn off after 30 seconds or so. And then there it is. I got everything framed up. Okay, I'm good. I don't need the screen anymore. It goes dark. But now, the entire time from that point forward, even though I don't need the screen anymore because I've set it to turn off, it's still sticking up above the camera. It basically doubles the size of your camera. So imagine if this was in front of you on a bicycle or a scooter or a motorcycle, it kind of obstructs your view a little bit. It's sitting in your field of view, but now with the screen sitting on top, it's double the surface area, and it's much, much bigger. And even though it's much, much bigger, the screen isn't serving any kind of a function because it's turned off. It's just a blank screen sticking up above the camera, annoying me, getting in my way, hitting the wind. Wind resistance is hitting it like it's the sail of a boat, and I don't really need it there anymore. So yeah, so this flip up LCD screen, don't like it. Unless they also add an active front screen, then I'm okay with it. But the other disadvantage that I've noticed is that because of engineering and physics, making the rear screen detachable so that it can hinge upwards, the camera has to be bigger and heavier. So most people have commented on this, but they haven't made a big deal out of it yet. But you can see that the Ace Pro is significantly heavier and larger than the GoPro Hero 12. So yeah, I think the dimensions, height and width are almost the same, but depth, it's much, much thicker than the GoPro, and it's much, much heavier. And I think when you look at the numbers, you don't get a sense that, you look at it and go, oh wow, it's not a huge difference. You see the two numbers side by side. But I know from experience that in reality, those numbers can make a big difference. Like if you pick up one camera and you pick up another camera that's 100 grams heavier or 70 grams heavier, it's like, whoa, you really feel it. You can feel the difference between them. And when you're constantly holding a camera at the end of a selfie stick, at arm's length, an extra 70 grams and 5 to 10 millimeters of thickness makes a big difference. So that's a disadvantage to the flip-up screen. Makes the camera bigger and heavier. And this one, I think most people would say that the Hero 12 is already pushing the boundaries. You go from the Hero 7 up to the Hero 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. It's a big jump in size and weight. I still remember when that happened, and I was always comparing my Hero 7, such a tiny little creature, and then you put a Hero 12 beside it. It like towers above it. It's so much bigger. So the Hero 12 is already too big for an action camera. And now we've got the Ace Pro, and it's even bigger and heavier. So it's getting a little bit out of control. So yeah, I don't like the flip up screen. Long story, short conclusion, don't like it. There are some advantages to the Ace Pro, particularly compared to the GoPro, because the sensor is larger. Well, not much, but it's a larger sensor than the GoPro. It actually has the same size sensor as the Action 4. And when the Action 4 was released, everybody was very excited because the Action 4 has a bigger sensor than the GoPro, and that means it's better in low light. And there's like millions of examples online. You can Action 4, GoPro side by side, and the Action 4 is much superior in low light. And the Ace Pro has the same sensor as the Action. So much better in low light. And I guess they've added AI technology. They say, I don't know what any of this means, but they've added a 5 nanometer chip. And apparently this 5 nanometer chip allows for the implementation of all kinds of AI tricks. Like, I don't know if that's really true AI, because my sense of AI right now is that to have an AI, to run an AI, depends on a massive amount of computing power. You need a giant computer system to run a true AI. So there's no way you're putting an AI onto a 5 nanometer chip, whatever that is, into an action camera. But they keep calling it AI this, AI that, AI powered, AI technology. But really, I guess it's just software. This chip allows more powerful software routines to run, and they can use that power to do things that the GoPro and the Action can't do. So they have something called True Vision, which I guess is a powerful noise eliminator. So in fact, the Ace Pro has the same size chip, same size sensor as the Action, so it's good in low light because of that. But because of its powerful processing, it is actually much better in low light than the Action 4. There's like no comparison at all. So in low light situations, the Ace Pro is a big leap forward, much better even than the Action 4, and then the GoPro is like not even in the conversation. So the low light capability of the Ace Pro seems to be its most powerful advantage over all the other cameras. Though I do have a weird perspective on that too. I tend to have a bit of an unusual take on most things. But when you're looking at some of this low light video, it is, much brighter, crisper, sharper. You can see all kinds of details. And then you put it side by side with the GoPro, and the GoPro video basically is muddy and noisy and dark, like really dark. So you think, well, the Ace Pro video is so much better in low light. Look, you can see everything. But yet at the same time, I always liked video that is the same as the real world. So like if you're riding your bicycle down the street at night with the GoPro and it's dark, the video is dark, well, that's because it is dark. Like it actually looks the same as what you see with your eyes. The GoPro kind of sees the same thing that your eyes see. So it's portraying an accurate picture of the world. The video doesn't look good. It's very noisy and the stabilization is no good, but it actually looks accurate. But then you've got the Ace Pro video and it's like the sun is shining. It's midnight, it's dark, the street is pitch black, but in the Ace Pro video, it's like it's lit up like the sun is beating down, or someone's got a huge flashlight and is lighting up the whole scene. And of course that's better when you're shooting video. You're shooting video at night, you want to see things, and the Ace Pro can do that. But at the same time, it's not reality. It's not actually what it looked like at that time. If you were standing there, you know, with the Ace Pro camera and then filming, you're looking at the screen. On the screen, you're seeing much, much more than your eyes and your brain can process. You know, you're looking and it's pitch black, and over here on the camera, it's like, oh, it's all lit up. I can see everything. It's like night vision goggles, which is a great thing, but it's not actually reality. And that thought kind of rumbles around in my head as well. It's like, well, yeah, it's nighttime, and the Ace Pro, you can see everything, but is that really what you want? Because, well, it's nighttime and you're shooting a vlog about real life. If it's dark out, shouldn't your video reflect that, right? So anyway, that's just sort of a random thought I had about all this, you know, better in low light business. I kind of like the video to reflect the real world, you know, exactly what it looks like to me. You know, if I'm standing here and I'm shooting video of something, I want my video to match what my eyes are seeing. But the other situation though is like you come into a hotel room at night, you know, and you're just using lights in the room. That's when, for me, the Ace Pro would shine, because even though I can see things with my eyes, then the GoPro video falters. But the Ace Pro, you could use it indoors and get a really nice video quality, and that I would like. I just have this weird feeling about taking the nighttime and making it look like it's daytime. It's like, because it doesn't really reflect reality at that time. So yeah, random thought about that. Other advantages of the Insta360 Ace Pro: it uses hand gestures, and that seems to have been implemented very well. So you can take a picture just by doing a peace sign. So you can just set up the camera, and whenever the camera sees somebody doing this, it starts a countdown. 3 seconds later, takes a picture. And for what I've seen online, people demonstrating it, it works beautifully. And I find it kind of clever too, because quite often, if you're feeling goofy and you're posing for a selfie, you know, yeah, often you give a peace sign. You know, it's like, hey, and now the peace sign is the hand gesture to take a picture, but it does give you a 3 second countdown, or maybe you can say how many seconds it is, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, then you just do the peace sign, you get the countdown, and then you can put your hand away and pose normally. I really like that. For video, you use palm. So the camera's just sitting there doing nothing. You raise a palm, it starts shooting video. And then when you want it to stop, you raise a palm again, it stops shooting video. And I think that can be very, very handy, particularly all the video that I've shot on a bicycle or a scooter. Yeah, I struggle sometimes, you know, reaching the GoPro, hitting the record button to start and stop and things like that, to be able to, you know, just put up my hand, start video, you know, put up my hand, stop recording. I think that's brilliant. I don't know if the Ace Pro can do this because of its 5 nanometer chip and AI technology, or maybe a GoPro could do this as well. They just haven't bothered to do it. I don't know. Apparently voice commands work really well on the Insta360 Ace Pro as well. So you could just, you know, start, stop recording using voice commands. That apparently works really well. And they have a very nifty feature, which I like a lot, where you can pause recording. So you hit the record button on the Ace Pro, it starts recording video, and then if you want to stop recording, but you don't really want to turn the camera off, you know, you don't want to hit the record button, stop recording, save the file, then start recording again and create a new file, you can actually pause the current recording. So you hit the record button, it's recording, and then there's a button on the screen. You hit that button, and now it has gone into pause mode. So the camera has paused, but the current recording is still active, and then you can wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you want to wait, and then you hit the record button again, and it resumes recording in the same video clip. And you can pause again, So say, you're riding your bike around the street and you're talking and you're showing things, and you get to a red light, and the red light's going to take 5 minutes to change to a green. With a GoPro, you're sitting there the entire time. You shoot 5 minutes of video that later on, fills up your memory cards. You have to delete. You got to fiddle around with it. Or you can stop recording, start again. Now you've got two separate video files. And then you often miss the moment too. But with the Ace Pro, you get up to the red light and you're going to be sitting here for 5 minutes. Well, pause. And then you wait. Light turns green. Resume. Pause, resume, pause, resume. I can see that being very useful, say, family situations. You've got kids playing soccer. You want to film their soccer game. You only want to film the action, right? You don't want to film all the stuff where they're just sort of doing nothing. Nothing is happening, but you got your camera recording. Your kid just tried to score a goal, so you're busy filming, and now the action has paused. You just pause recording, and then you're standing there waiting, and suddenly your team is attacking again. They're running across the field, and now, oh, something's happening. Resume. And then they kick a goal or something. Oh, pause. So you can record the whole game, but only recording the action by pausing and resuming. And then at the end, it's all put together into one video file. That would be nice. I could see that being extremely useful. I could have, in my lifetime as a GoPro YouTuber, man, that feature would have been very, very useful. And you can do it with old video clips as well. So like if you shot a video clip, a regular one, you started recording, you stopped recording, the camera saved it as a video file, you can go back to that video file, open it, and start filming again at the end of it. So you can actually resume recording on a video that you've already saved. You just open it up again and keep recording, and that gets added to wherever it was you stopped, which I think is pretty amazing too. I don't know how often I would ever use that, but the whole pausing, resuming, yeah, I think that's a really useful feature. I like that a lot. I think another advantage for the Ace Pro is just the Insta360 ecosystem as a whole, because their app, the 360 app that you use for editing, like reframing 360 video and editing normal video, they've got an exceptionally good app for both your Android or your smartphone and on a desktop or laptop. Both of those systems are very well developed. They spend a lot of time, perfecting them, and they work really, really well. And you get access to those apps with the Ace Pro, and I think that is a big advantage as well. And they have, Insta360 has a lot of experience with fancy graphics, and a lot of the early reviews are showing that you can take your video and add these graphic modes that make it look like cartoons and different things. You can do all these fancy graphic alterations, because you see a lot of that with 360 video. They have all these, like the shot mode library. You can do all these fancy tricks with 360 video, and they've taken some of that and applied it to regular video. I think a lot of that might be people have fun with it the first day they buy the camera. It's like, oh, look at all these cool things I can do, make myself look like a cartoon and do this, do that. And then they may never ever use it again, but it's very good for marketing. But more to the point is that their app, both for the smartphone and desktop computer, are very good and very responsive, connect with the camera seamlessly. Everything is just really well designed and very solid foundation. And I don't think GoPro or DJI can compete with that as yet. So that's another advantage, I think, to the Insta360. You get that ecosystem as well as the accessories, because they've developed a lot of these accessories for their previous cameras that stand out from the GoPro world, and I believe from the DJI world. So no one's really talked about it yet, but I've done a deep dive into it, looking at the accessories, and they have a mic adapter. I like the design of it. It's similar to the mic adapter that you use for the X3, but this one kind of hugs the bottom corner of the Ace Pro. And one thing I like is the Ace Pro has the battery compartment separate from the USB-C port and SD card compartment. So there's two doors, one door for the battery and an entirely separate door, separate compartment for the USB-C port and memory card slot. I love that separation. GoPro used to have that separation. I really liked it with the Hero 7, but then when they did the big change to the Hero 8 and they incorporated the media mod, they had to redesign the physical shape of the camera, and they destroyed a lot of those nice features. Now it's all in the same place, and I don't really like that. I like the way Ace Pro has it. And then they've got this little mic adapter. So it plugs into the USB-C port, so then it gives you a 3.5 millimeter jack and a USB-C port on this little adapter. And unlike the GoPro one, it's tiny. It's small and light and really flush to the camera. It's almost probably not even noticeable. Yeah, here's the here's the GoPro version. It also has the 3.5 millimeter jack and the USB-C port in this big heavy block, and then a big thick cable, and then an elbow joint and the USB-C. I mean, this thing is just a nightmare. And ever since it came out, GoPro users have been pleading for GoPro to change this, to fix it. And basically Insta360 built one of these for their camera, and it's got to be a tenth of the size and weight. It's just a little thing. It doesn't dangle off your camera like this one does. There's no cables involved. It just basically clips into place, and it's very small and streamlined. That looks like a beautiful implementation. So for me, of course, the first thing I would think about is, okay, how do I record audio on this thing using a Rode Wireless Go? How does that work? And then when I saw that mic adapter, it's like, yes, I love that. That's great. And then for mounting a wireless microphone, what they use is a little L bracket. So instead of, the GoPro solution is to take the media mod and you take an entire cage and you wrap the whole cage around the GoPro, and then you get like a cold shoe mount where you can put the put the wireless mic. And it's just such a big, heavy solution to a very simple problem. And Ace Pro, Insta360, what they did is they designed this little elbow joint that attaches to the magnetic mounting system, and then this elbow bracket just goes up the side of the camera and has a cold shoe mount right there, and you clip your wireless mic receiver into that. And when you see the whole package put together, it's still a lot, because action cameras are not meant for vlogging. They're not designed for that. So even this one, with a really good implementation, still plugging in an external microphone ends up creating a bit of a Frankenstein's monster. A lot of things sticking out, cables, because you gotta run a cable from the receiver to the mic adapter, and like, where's that cable going to go? Now you've got an L bracket, you've got a receiver, you've got an adapter. I'm sure you had to remove the door from the camera so you can put in the adapter. It's still a lot, but I find their implementation with the mic adapter, the L bracket, nice. It's probably as good as you're going to get. I could figure out a way to improve it, I think, but for what it is, I like it a lot. I think they did a really nice job with that. And there are a couple of more disadvantages to the Ace Pro. These are things that don't really bother me that much, but I've noticed that online, people are really drilling down on these two things. And for them, these two things are complete deal breakers. Like for me, the deal breaker is the flip up screen and the lack of a front screen. So I guess the deal breaker for me is not the flip up screen, but the lack of a dedicated front screen. That's the deal breaker for me. I wouldn't mind having the flip up screen. I can see it being very useful in a lot of different ways, but I also need that front screen. So that's the deal breaker for me. And I don't like the magnetic mounting system either. But hey, that's my personal cross to bear, you know. But people have pointed out that the lens protector is fixed. So the lens protector is non-removable. The idea being that now if you drop the camera, scratch the lens, you're stuck. How you can't really replace it. You're going to have to send the camera in to Insta360 to their factory, and they're going to have to take it apart to remove that and put a new one in place. It's not user removable. And GoPro did that with the Hero 8, and people just lost their minds, you know, because was it the Hero 8? Yeah, it was the 8, the very first one after the 7, and they had, you know, lens protector on there, but you couldn't screw it off. So if you scratched it, you had to get it fixed by the manufacturer, and it was a whole big deal. And what people wanted was to be able to unscrew it. So if you scratch it or break it, you just unscrew it, buy a new protector for $20, screw it into place. And the fact that the Hero 8 didn't have this capability, people just tore it apart. They hated that camera, never stopped talking about that, you know, non-removable lens protector. And then GoPro fixed it with the 9? Yeah, the 9, I think mine is removable, and then the 10, 11, and 12, of course. And for GoPro, it kind of has to be removable too, because they have the max lens mod, so you can unscrew the lens protector and then you can screw in the max lens mod. So it has to be removable for that anyway. But to be honest, I don't know if it even matters for protection. Everybody talks about how with their action camera, it's meant to be used in harsh conditions. It's going to get banged up and scratched, and then people want to be able to replace it. But in real life, I doubt that very many people ever had to do it. I mean, I'm not out there skateboarding and mountain biking with my GoPro, so I'm not doing hardcore sports, but I've used this GoPro a lot, and my Hero 7 before it a lot, banging it around, mounting it on scooters and bicycles, and I've dropped it a few times, and I'm constantly putting it on the ground, on rocks, in the dirt, and I've never ever touched the lens. It's never been scratched, never been damaged. So I think a lot of this, people are imagining that they have a more active lifestyle than they actually do. Probably out of the 1,000 people complaining about how if the lens is scratched, you can't replace it, out of those 1,000 people, 999 of them will never scratch the lens. Like, it's never going to happen. I think it happens to very few people. So from a real world perspective, it probably doesn't matter whether it's removable or not. But with the Insta360 Ace Pro, it is not removable. It is glued in place, or it's fixed in place, and people really don't like that. And yeah, people are upset about that. So that goes against the camera. And it only has 8-bit color. So they're behind the curve on that one. The new cameras all have 10-bit. I think the Hero 12 has 10-bit, and the Action 4, they both have 10-bit. And for me, I don't think for me, it doesn't matter at all. It only seems to really matter if you do color grading, so that 10-bit video files, you can get into your editing program and adjust the color and saturation, all that stuff. And then you can push it much farther without the video degrading. And then 8-bit, you can't do as much adjustment and keep the video looking good. And I never do anything like that anyway, so I really don't care. So the whole 8-bit, 10-bit controversy, it doesn't really matter to me, but on the market, it matters a lot. People, when they're laying out $450 for a little action camera, they want the best. They don't want to be walking around with their Ace Pro with their 8-bit color, and then some guy walks up with an Action 4. Oh, 8-bit. I got 10-bit, you know. 'Cause I see the numbers all the time, and they're kind of astonishing. Where, I can't think of the numbers off the top of my head, but it's something like, where it might be that 8-bit has 14 million colors and 10-bit has 14 billion colors. And there's a huge gap between them. But whenever I hear them talk about this, I'm thinking, well, in my world, I'm happy with like 6 colors, right? I've got red, green, blue, and white. Whatever the primary colors are. Like if you say to me my video has 100,000 colors, I think I'm good. I don't think I need any more than that. So if you tell me that 10-bit gives me, 10 million colors, I'm like, well, sure, 10 million is more than 100,000, or 100 billion is more than 100 million. But I think once you reach 100,000 colors, I'm good. I can't see me ever needing, like, oh my gosh, my video, I only have 100,000 colors, or I only have 14 million colors. I need one more, I don't see, in all these colors, I don't see the one that I want. I want 14 million and one. That's the shade of red that I want. Anyway, 8-bit, 10-bit to me doesn't make any difference at all. But I think to the market, it makes a huge difference. People going out there to spend their $400 to $500, they want the camera with 10-bit color removable lens. Whether it's reasonable or not, that's what the market wants. And the Ace Pro doesn't have either. Non-removable, 8-bit. So I think that's really going to hurt them in sales for a lot of people. I'm sure there are a ton more things to talk about for the Ace Pro, pros and cons, but I think that's most of the things that I know about that seemed important to me. Just one thing that I did skip over, that the Ace Pro can shoot 8K video, which is much more than anybody else. I think, the latest GoPro, I think it tops out at 5.3K, and I think the Action 4, I think the max is 4K, right? So like sort of around 4K, 5K, that's where the competition is at right now. And the Ace Pro can shoot 8K video, though the pre-production models that they sent out to all the YouTubers, all the reviewers, none of them can shoot 8K yet. They don't have the firmware hasn't been developed to the point that it can handle 8K, but eventually the ones they sell in the stores to consumers, and in the future, the new firmware, whatever, and the new systems will be able to shoot in 8K. And that's something that they're talking about as a big advantage to this camera. From what I've seen, people don't really care. I mean, in my case, I can't even shoot in 2.7K, let alone 4K or 5.3K. You can talk to me all you want about 8K, but it's just completely meaningless. The size of those video files and the computing power you would need to edit those video files, and for what? For people, to watch your video on their smartphone at 480p in the subway system, right? 8K sounds great, why not? Better, more is better, I suppose, in the long run. But at this point, 8K doesn't mean a lot to me. And the other thing is the remote. And this I do like quite a bit. With this camera, the Ace Pro, Insta360 has released a very useful looking remote control. It looks brilliant. And for the way I've been shooting video over the past 5 years, that feels like a lifetime, that would have been very, very useful. Like the remotes that I've had in the past didn't really work, and all they could do is start recording. It's just like a black, like a key ring or something, and you push a record button, and it never really works. It doesn't connect with your camera. It's a big mess, but they don't really do anything. But this remote for the Ace Pro is a full-on unit with a screen. Like, you can actually see the video from your camera on your screen, and you can change all the settings. Like, it's a full-on remote control, a little like a smartwatch, bigger than the average smartwatch, but you can actually put it into a wristband, sits on your wrist, so your Ace Pro can be mounted on your scooter, your bicycle, the other side of the room, on the outside of your car, you know, wherever you have it mounted, and you have full control from your little remote, and you can change the settings, you can start, stop recording, you can see the video that it's recording, and it looks to be beautifully built and beautifully implemented. So I really like that as well. So that would be an advantage for the Ace Pro as well. Yeah, I kind of forgot about that until just now. I was very impressed to see that remote. And it makes me wonder why companies like GoPro don't have it yet. They could have done it, I assume. I don't know if Insta360 was able to do this because they have AI. They have a 5 nanometer chip, whatever that is. Is that the reason they can have such a fancy remote? I doubt it. I think Insta360 has just developed communication protocols for their apps between the camera and the phone to such a high level that they could actually port it over to a remote control. And they just have this base, this foundation technology where it works really, really well. And maybe GoPro just doesn't have that, because I mean, I find the GoPro app to be such, you know, glitchy and fiddly and doesn't really work. You know, I spend 10 minutes trying to get it connect to my GoPro. By the time it connects, I'm fed up, and then it disconnects and it doesn't do anything. So maybe GoPro's base technology isn't developed enough for them to even make a remote, perhaps. But anyway, this remote control for the Ace Pro, that looks amazing. I like that a lot. And I think that's it. I think I will wrap things up here for behind the scenes. Of course, I have other things to talk about. I haven't talked about pop culture or pet peeves or random thoughts or podcasts or YouTube stories. None of the usual things I talk about. But I think that's enough for this morning. Yeah, just wanted to chat about the new kid on the block, the new camera, the Insta360 Ace Pro. Interesting. A lot of interesting ideas there. I like a lot of the features quite a bit. So yeah, it just seems to me that they're going to have trouble being a success on the market. As I said, people are kind of worn out from all the new cameras that came out this year. It's hard to get ramped up and excited about a new camera because there's been so many this year to get excited about. So I think they're going to have a tough job on the market. But we'll see. Who knows? It could be a roaring success. Certainly a good start for their very first action camera. It's amazing, really. They're the very first one they've made. It's incredibly well done. So we just have to see what happens in the next generation and the next new player on the market for action cameras, basically. There you go. That's it. Shutting down, and I'll see you in the next video.